Well, hello, my dragon family. Happy Thursday. It is 4/4/24. It is April 4th. And I love that magical number. Coming out today because I had a great question this week. And this has been, I don't know, it just feels like the right opening, felt in flow for discussion right now. And somehow preppiness for the energies that are coming. You guys know we've got a big eclipse happening here, particularly in the United States, on Monday the 8th. It's around, I want to say it's at 11:27 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm actually excited. I'm going to be on a session call with one of my dragon hearts who typically has some big global pieces. She's a diamond rainbow dragon and is a big part in some big global things. So when she reached out and said, I think we're supposed to have a session during the eclipse, I said 100%, absolutely. Let's see what unfolds. So I'm super excited about that. Most likely I'll come on afterwards and share in a live, either Monday or Tuesday, probably Monday, what that was all about. You know, what is unfolding energetically with this eclipse. I know that there's a lot of expectation around it, potentially some fear around it for some people. There's a large gathering happening in the Midwest where the actual X is with the previous eclipse, because it's quite a marked event. It's quite a unique patterning, and so there's a lot of big talk about it, and you don't need me to be telling you about it. But if you haven't or heard of what's going on, go ahead and do some internet searches on this big eclipse and what's going on, because there's some big energy. And for me, it feels like a portal, a marking point. You know, this year, 2024, has been heralded as, and let me just make sure here that I've got my volume all the way up, heralded as something we'll look back on, that 2024 will be, for me, I look back on 2020 as like a serious turning point. I don't even remember 21, 2, and 3 really. Like yesterday was 2020 for me, even though so much has transpired. The days are long, there's a lot getting done, but it's flying by. Time is malleable, it's not operating the same way. So that was a marker point that for some reason I just keep going back to. And all of my guides have kept saying 2024 is going to be like no other, where you will have this, like what you look back upon will be that, because that's the starting point of the starting gate of everything as we move into the full age of Aquarius. So watch for that energy, sense what you're feeling, especially Monday, whatever time that is for you in your time zone, roughly 11:15, 11:30 a.m. here Pacific Standard. So Europe will still be awake, East Coast you'll be in the afternoon. So just pay attention to that. So what do I want to discuss today? It doesn't specifically have anything to do with dragons, but I felt like our journey with the dragons is connected to it. And so I wanted to share this because it was a great topic and is very relevant. And I thought, you know, a lot of people are going to be called to this, particularly in this time where since the solstice in December, we've got this cohesion, this merging of all aspects of ourselves coming into play, where we're gathering all of the aspects of ourselves that have been in the earth plane on any incarnational timeline. So I thought it really fascinating that this discussion came up in my new group, the Entering the Dragon Realms group, in our second week of class last Tuesday, about soul retrievals and why we're drawn, because as we unfold in the work with the dragons, we start getting drawn to certain areas of the world, and knowing and understanding those, most of the time I'm drawn to areas of the world, like I'm feeling this pull to Wales, because there's dragons there that I have a piece to activate, to release, to wake up, whatever the situation is with that energy, that we get called to areas that we have codes and keys for. And I find it very interesting that looking at my historic travel past, I was all over the world going to places very specifically that I was drawn to, really had always wanted to go to, had heard about once, and was like on my bucket list. And I wasn't really spiritually awake then necessarily. It was before it actually led to my awakening. But when I see in hindsight the places that I was naturally intuitively drawn to, that were somehow like, I got to go there. When I see it from where I am now, I have all those pieces and those clues, and I'm so grateful that I followed them, because wherever you've been, if you've been there in this physical body, you can reconnect energetically no matter where you are on the planet and tap in for whatever retrieval, activation, peace needs to happen. So I'm able to do a lot of energy work from where I sit now because of all the places that I've been to. There still are some others that I have to get to physically that I haven't been to yet that I'm being asked to go. One of those, just as an example, I didn't know why, but I knew I had to go walk the West Highland Way. I was in Ireland and Scotland for about 6 weeks total, way back. This was back in like 2005, 2006. And I love trekking anyway. I love backpacking. So to do the West Highland Way from Glasgow to Fort William was right up my alley. It just really drew me. Well, walking along the shores of Loch Lomond, my blood heritage is in that region. And I just had all this stuff coming up and I was like, okay, just be with that, let it move through. And as I was walking literally along that shoreline, I had the most amazing soul retrieval experience I'd ever had. And it still stands out to me as one of the very, very unique ones because I all of a sudden saw myself over 200 years before in a male body. I'm there. This is where I died. I had an axe in my back, was a very violent death. And I felt that energy move back into my energy field and like merge back in. And I was like, whoa, that was amazing. And then all of this memory and history of the area and what I was doing there and what my clan was doing there. And so it made a lot of sense. And it led me to some other things. But the question that came up when we were discussing soul retrievals is, why are we drawn to certain places? And for instance, like that, I didn't know that was going to happen. I just knew I needed to go to Scotland and was led to do this walk. And then all of a sudden this piece comes in. So trusting those instincts of maybe you're being called to Iceland, maybe you're being called to Peru. Peru was a big calling for me, but it was about dragon work. Those will reveal once you get there, but try to follow those callings. So the question that arose from the discussion regarding these soul retrievals was, how do we know, like, why was that particularly one where that was an earthbound spirit? I said, well, the soul retrieval happens because that aspect of yourself has not crossed over into the heavenly realms where it's an easier level of merge process. They're still earthbound, and so you're having to pick up those pieces. You're having to reintegrate them, and you can do it through this physical plane interaction, like actually going to where that energy is, and you don't have to do anything other than be present, and you'll feel that come in and that memory come in. So why then are some violent deaths create an earthbound spirit, whereas other violent deaths are just a natural violent death? Maybe not natural, maybe it's caused by someone else, but the soul doesn't get earthbound. And what is the difference between those two? And I felt like discussing this here because it's going to benefit a lot of you. As we're going through this cohesion and this merge piece, more and more of you are going to have soul retrieval pieces coming in. And this, the difference here of why a particular one would leave the energy body earthbound is dependent on the state of the heart during that death. Because even in a violent death, so say some of the massacres that happen, not all of those spirits are earthbound. Some are knowing that it was a karmic balance completion and they're able to move on. They don't have a recourse or a desire for vengeance, that they felt it was unfair. It's these big emotions that are still churning when the body dies of, I want vengeance, my life was cut short, I didn't finish what I had to do, I still have things to accomplish here. And then there's a desire in the soul not to leave the area because they don't even recognize that they're dead. They're there and they haven't been able to complete because maybe it was untimely and unexpected or early in the contracts of things. And so there's this aspect of unfairness. There's no justification to my death right now. And so the soul gets in this turmoil state, and in that state, it can't cross through. It can't go through into the heavenly realms where it could reincarnate or do some other lessons or do some completions. And even knowing those heavenly realms that our earthbound bodies go to are still part of this realm. They are earthbound in a sense. They're part of this earth plane versus when we cross over with light body and can go back into soul level completion. So the state of the soul is what really creates whether it's earthbound or not. So one of my first experiences with this type of energy was connecting with some Native American sites where some large massacres had happened. Even in my own, I've had past incarnations in indigenous tribal bodies, different tribes throughout most of the United States, and going back to lands where there was a lot of bloodshed. And as an energy empath, being able to like walk on that land and feel that, and being able to help those souls pass through. A lot of the energy work I used to do was about helping those in the bardo transfer through, or clearing land of that bloodshed, clearing land of that energy. And a lot of times if there's that level of energetic bloodshed in the land absorbed by it, that also adds to the earthbound factor, because those souls are, they're just part of that. They're connected to it and have a hesitancy to leave. Maybe they're waiting for someone to come back that they need to give something to, get a message to. There's confusion. So anytime the energetic is not feeling complete, whether it's, as I said, they want vengeance, maybe there was unjustness, they need to get a message through to someone before they can leave, this feeling of discomfort of it's not complete, I can't go on yet. This is what causes a soul to be earthbound. And for us then, as we incarnate 100, 200, 300, 500 years later, that we might need to go back there. And I feel like that was a part of why I needed to go back to Egypt. I've been back to Egypt twice. Didn't have the direct same sense in specifics like I did in Scotland, but I did feel like there were parts of my energy coming home, that somehow through all the ceremony that I did in Egypt, as different priestess lives or different, I know I was a merchant at one point in Egypt, that through the ceremony and the ritual, there were aspects, because I built up so much energy in that place, that even upon death, I had an imprint there, and it was about regathering that imprint. So I know it's an odd subject that we've tackled today, and you might be questioning like, well, yeah, what does that have to do with dragons? It's really about our ascension process. And the dragons are the holders and the keepers of that ascension process. They're acting as our guides, and they can help facilitate that by helping you get clarity. Why did this come up last week? We were in energetic initiation with the air dragons, and the air dragons are that wisdom lineage. They're all about higher perspective. So when that's coming in, discussions like this tend to happen to get those bigger picture pieces of how it all folds together and how we bring it all in. So I just want to see here, I've got a message, a fairly long one from Pam. Great topic and answering. I'll be going to Tomar, Portugal in October. So excited to see, in quotes, what will be acknowledged. Absolutely, Pam. It's always amazing to see and get that real heart knowing of like, why do I feel so drawn that I have to go here? You know, for me, Tibet was a huge one. And many of you guys, some of you were on that trip with me. I took 15 dragons with me. We did the Kailash Kora. That was an adamant, like, I have to do this. And it was both soul retrieval pieces and dragon work. So I was drawn there. It was a huge piece. But the fascinating piece for me was in the trusting of going there and coming out the end of the Kora and passing through this portal that was, and I think I've told this story before, look up Tibet on the YouTube playlist if you want to hear it. I walked through this dragon portal where there were 2 dragon guardians on either side, and all of a sudden I felt this massive energetic, it was like a responsibility that I didn't even know I had, lift off my shoulders. And I felt so much lighter and freer. And at the same time, I was sort of sad because I knew that I wouldn't be coming back there again. Part of me thought, well, maybe I can take groups to Tibet on a regular basis, you know, every 2 years or whatever, when people are ready. And I still could do that if I choose to, but it would be more of a choice point of what my heart is in line with doing, rather than like a calling. I've got to go, I've got to go, I've got to go. And that heart knowing, because I felt this grief come up of, wow, I won't be back here again, because I've had so many lifetimes in the Himalayas. And at the same time, this massive weight lift off my shoulders, that the work I needed to do there was complete. So trust those knowings, but also hear the discussion we've had. Really get a grip of this soul retrieval piece. What was left undone? Do I need to know that, or do I just need to merge it in? For me, there was some forgiveness pieces that I had to make retribution for, because as soon as that piece came in Scotland, it was a very violent lifetime for me. A lot of really horrendous acts on my part as a man in that region. And I needed to come to grips with and consciously make that energetic retribution and make things right. Ask for forgiveness, repent, and go into the energy of that, which is what came in. And that's another part of the completion is, what does this part of my soul need? Not only to no longer be earthbound and merge back in, but to complete that contract. What was keeping me earthbound? What was the energetic around keeping me there? Was there messaging that I still needed to get across? Was there repentance to be had? Was there forgiveness I needed to give? What is the other piece of that? And the air dragons are really big allies to help you get that clarity and bring that that information in. So hopefully this was insightful. I know it was a little different discussion than we normally have, but what a great question. And you know, even if it's not directly related to dragons, you guys are allowed to ask those questions, because if it's part of our ascension path, the dragons are directly connected to it, and all of you guys have dragon guides, so of course it applies. Anyway, wishing you a beautiful weekend. I'm excited to also let you know that I have the first copy in hand. It arrived last night, or actually it arrived this morning, of De Drach Beninen. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but it's in Dutch. So I have the first print copy. That means the print house is ready. The official Kindle version is in conversion right now. So through that outlet, it will be available in about 2 weeks or so. But the website for the Dutch pages, for those that are listening from Holland, should be up fairly soon. So watch for that little Dutch button to click, where there's English, there's Spanish, there's French, and there will be Dutch on the site to be able to. Thank you, Pam. Super excited that it's finally in place. To get either the PDF is ready, the EPUB version for Macs is ready. It reads beautifully. I just don't like how the EPUB was reading on the Kindle previewer that I have. The format just didn't hold, and I didn't have the technology-wise on InDesign to set it up correctly. So I'm having them professionally do it so that that's ready. But watch for those, because I know the web guy has everything he needs. He's waiting for a go from me, and I think we've got all the pieces in place, so it should be any day now that the actual website is up where you can get your copies of the ebook or the print book. You can order the print book through me there now as soon as it's up. So super excited about those. All right, wishing you a beautiful eclipse. I know I won't see you before then, but possibly right after it. And have an incredible weekend. Hopefully it's beautiful where you are. I think we're expecting a little more either snowy, rainy weather, snow up on the mountain. So even though I'm very ready for spring, all my fruit trees are flowering, my bees are super happy. They have a food source. All kinds of things are coming into place. I think I told you, you know, everything's coming into alignment. So all of a sudden, all these big projects that have been on my list, they're all coming together at once. Like end of next week, I've got windows being installed. I've got fence being installed like on the same 2 days. The book's done. The website will be done by that probably next Friday. And like, whew, it's just crazy how it's like all wrapping up. So watch for that in your own life. It's definitely like things aligning in where they need to be. So wishing you a beautiful weekend. Really grateful y'all were here. And those even on the replay. We'll catch you next time. Bye for now.